Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. I am Tina Jha. The centre has for a second time asked messaging service provider WhatsApp to withdraw its updated privacy policy. In a communication sent late on Tuesday to WhatsApp, the IT ministry said that the changes to the privacy policy and the manner of introducing these changes undermines the sacrosanct values of informational privacy, data security and user choice for the Indian users and harms their rights and interests. The ministry also reiterated the discriminatory treatment meted out to Indian WhatsApp users compared to those in Europe. The notice to WhatsApp read, and I quote, "As you are doubtlessly aware, many Indian citizens depend on WhatsApp to communicate in everyday life. It is not just problematic, but also irresponsible for WhatsApp to leverage this position to impose unfair terms and conditions on the Indian users, particularly those that discriminate against the Indian users vis-a-vis users in Europe." So that's what the second notice from the government to WhatsApp read on discriminatory practices by the company. While the WhatsApp on its part maintains that its new privacy policy does not impact the privacy of personal messages for anyone, in a statement the company said majority of its users have already accepted the company's new privacy policy and no account in India has been deleted or functionality impaired after the 15th of May. So today on The Big Picture, we will analyze the updated privacy policy of WhatsApp. How is it discriminatory towards us, the Indian users? In what ways does it impact the privacy of personal messages? And what happens if the company does not withdraw its policy? So to discuss these aspects and also much more, I'm joined on the program by two distinguished panelists. Let me first introduce them to you. I have with me Mr. Brijesh Singh, IG Maharashtra Police. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the program. And Advocate Anuj Agarwal, he's a cyber law expert. Welcome to the show, Mr. Agarwal. In fact, let me begin the program with you, Mr. Agarwal. First of all, help us and our viewers understand the updated privacy policy of WhatsApp, the terms and conditions for use, and the manner of its implementation for which it has been served a notice by the government.
See, in this new policy, WhatsApp has made two very significant changes. Number one, they are saying that they will be now sharing almost all the data, metadata, to the Facebook and all their associates. So it is not only that they are sharing the information with their parent company, but also the business associates, which no one knows, at least I and you do not know who is now going to have access to my data. They are only saying that your chats are private, they are encrypted. Other than that, each and every information is being shared, which includes my locational data, my IP address, and my business name, my personal name, my activities, my friend list, with groups with whom I am sharing myself with or I am part of that. So this is something which is totally against the privacy guaranteed by the Constitution under Article 21, which was very clearly reiterated by the Constitution bench of Honorable Supreme Court in the Justice Pottaswamy case. So this is one ground on which the government of India is opposing this update in the policy, which the WhatsApp is calling as update, and we are saying as a new introduction in the policy. Second is obviously the discriminatory nature of this policy. See, these kind of conditions or the data collection is obviously not prevalent or not allowed in European sphere, because they have already something called GDPR, Global Data Protection Regulation, by which the privacy of the residents of the European Union are guaranteed. Our law is pending in the Parliament for some time, but it does not mean that the same level of privacy is not expected of the Indian residents. Facebook or WhatsApp is a global company. They are bound by the law of the land, which also includes the spirit of the law. It is not that each and everything has to be written in black and white, because you cannot write each and everything in black and white. In UK, the constitution is not even written, but it doesn't mean the constitution doesn't exist. It is very much there. It is understood that there is a constitution, there are values which have to be followed. So I think these are the grounds on which the government of India is vehemently opposed to this policy, and so are the citizens and the residents of this country.
Okay. Let me bring in Mr. Singh at this point in time. Mr. Singh, so what the government says, of course, is the policy undermines informational privacy, data security, the user choice of the Indian users. And this is where the element of discrimination comes into picture vis-a-vis the European users of WhatsApp. The question is, do we not have stringent laws in our country that take care of the rights and interests of the Indian citizens?
So, as Mr. Agarwal has said, the personal data protection regulation has been pending for some time before the Parliament, and we expect that it should be passed anytime soon, because there's a parliamentary committee looking into it. An IT Act today is not just a simple thing. It involves privacy, freedom of speech and expression, and various other things about which there are contrarian views on every side, and they all need to be looked into. But having said that, I think a personal data protection regulation is the need of the day. But let me begin this with a very significant development on the WhatsApp privacy issue. So on 18th May, Germany's lead data protection regulator has banned Facebook from using WhatsApp data for the next 3 months. So strict action has already been taken by one country, and this basically applies to almost all 27 components of the European Union. So while they are giving a differential treatment here, in the sense that if you look at the WhatsApp policy for the rest of the world, including India, and for the European Union, you find that they are different. Because in Europe, they are giving people a chance to opt out from this particular data sharing. And here they are coercing Indians by saying that, oh, you will not be able to use this app after this particular date.
Yes.
That date has passed, and looking at the 400 million user base in India, I don't think so that they are actually in a position to arm twist us. So here is a condition that you respect the privacy of users' data in Europe, but here you want to change the conditions as you want, and you want to arm twist Indian users. That too, when you aspire to have a payment system built on your app and become a kind of a super app. So with these ambitions, if you do not have any respect for the law of the land, I think it's a very anomalous situation, and government has very rightly stepped into it and asked WhatsApp to be accountable for any such unilateral policy changes, which basically also in a way are anomalous because of network effects of Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram coming together, and then they sharing data with each other. So this Competition Commission was also examining this, but this gives them a very unfair advantage on any other thing. So it's discriminatory in many ways, and even when it is not discriminatory in Europe, they have already taken action, and the lead data regulator of Germany has already stopped Facebook from using users' data. So this is the current development, and I do feel that the company has been very, very discriminatory with Indians.
Okay, so Mr. Singh, when you talk about action, in the second notice that the government has served to WhatsApp, we have seen how the government has not just asked the company to withdraw its policy, but also in a way indicated that the company could face punitive action if it doesn't comply. So do you think WhatsApp could comply this time and withdraw? Or if not, what are the options that the government has? What kind of punitive action can we take as per the existing laws?
So we have already seen that what happened with TikTok and hundreds of other Chinese apps, that the Union government has shown enough teeth and resolve to establish its data sovereignty, and to tell the world that if you have such a large user base here, you will have to respect the law of the land. And as Mr. Anuj was also saying, that if you operate here, you have a user base here, all your business is from here, then you cannot simply say that, oh, I do not agree to your laws, or that your laws are not appropriate. Again, if WhatsApp is sharing data with Facebook, Facebook doesn't have a stellar reputation with data. Look at the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and world over, where parliaments had summoned Facebook for its improper use of data, wherein it's even affecting democracy, freedom of speech, and other rights, and even helping criminal syndicates to reach innocent victims. So it is time that big tech is reined in, and their position of dominance, just because it started as a free product, now you want to monetize it, and since you want to monetize it, you are putting such conditions which are coercive. And it's like that I am in a flight and the flight has taken off, and then you are wanting to change the condition, otherwise you're saying that get down from the flight. I cannot get down from the flight. So this is the way that big tech is arm twisting, and this is fundamentally wrong, and this needs to change. I think union government is on the right path.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, let me understand it from the point of view of the company now, because for a company which has more than 400 million users in India, it is perhaps one of the biggest markets across the world. Its decision faced backlash ever since it announced the privacy policy, which in a way we saw it got deferred by a few months. But despite that, despite the severe backlash, people shifting to other rival platforms as well. We've seen over the past few months how people have shifted to other platforms like Telegram and Signal. Despite that, why do you think the company still went ahead with the implementation and insists that it is not violative of the existing laws, which clearly it is?
I think it is, there are two things. One is pure simple greed, which they have, and they think it is high time that whatever data of the people, the demographic profile, the metadata of the people of this country, and as Mr. Singh put it, it's a very large number. 40 crore is a very large number. I mean, it is more than the population of most of the countries in the world except China, where obviously there is no free hand for them to operate. So they think that before some government action really happens, they will be able to take away that data. And second, we had been a very liberal democracy for the last 70 years after the independence, and where all and sundry have got a chance to operate. We have allowed somehow through our liberal approach of development, everybody to have its say. Whether it is a good business or not so good business, we have allowed them to operate. We are not that strict. So they are also thinking that this time also they will somehow get an opportunity to carry on in some or the other manner. Probably they were not expecting government to be really stern and tough this time. They probably thought they will issue one symbolic notice, and then with the passage of time and because of the COVID and all that, everybody being busy, the matter will simply get out of the memory of the people. But the step which the government has taken, obviously it looks very different even by Indian government standards, that they are continuing working in the interest of the people and taken this stern notice to that logical end, that they have given 1 week's notice, and they have put companies like WhatsApp on the notice that look, if you do not comply and this is something which is sacrosanct, there would be strict action. I must tell you that we actually had taken strict action against the monopolistic behavior and of these various companies, and we have even shown many companies like Coca-Cola earlier the door in 1978 when they failed to follow the government formula of sharing what they are serving to the people. Government actually asked them to leave the country. So I think WhatsApp should also remember, as also Mr. Singh said, that hundreds of Chinese apps, including a very famous TikTok, they were shown the door, they were completely banned. So I think this time they should realize that government is serious, and it is something which is relating to the safety, security of the individual also, because they are sharing the live location, and I do not know who is going to have that location. Mr. Singh, for example, is a very, very important person for the security apparatus of the state. Now his location is shared with any Tom, Dick, Harry in the world for some money. That is obviously not done, except with his own permission, with the government permission. Such data should not be shared. So I think they were thinking that it will not go that far, but I think government has taken the right step, and Supreme Court's mandate is very much there. Government must follow in the interest of the public.
Okay, so both your panelists suggest that the government is, of course, on the right track. The judiciary, we know, has obviously upheld and time and again said that right to privacy is extremely important compared to even the value of these companies. We heard that early this year when the court was hearing the case. But Mr. Agarwal, let me also try and understand. At the moment, the company may not have anticipated the government will take it that far. Now that the government, we know, has in a way told them that either withdraw or face punitive action, help us understand what is the status of the case which is currently under trial in the High Court, and what gives these companies, are there any loopholes in our existing rules, existing laws, which these companies are sort of, taking advantage of and therefore enjoying a dominant position?
Yes, there are very historical and legacy reasons for that. You see, we had this Puttasamy judgment coming quite a few years back. And as part of that judgment, the Supreme Court has given a mandate to the government to enact a proper data protection law. And a committee under the retired Supreme Court judge was also formed. And they have given their recommendation long back. And then there were two bills which were presented before the parliament, and that bill has now again gone to a select committee, and almost 2 years have passed. You see, so this is giving an opportunity for all these companies to present before various courts of law that, look, even the government is not serious, even the government is not sure, nobody is sure what privacy means in this country, how much privacy has to be made. And then obviously they are taking a very simplistic route, saying people have agreed. And they are saying government has nothing to do with that. It is between the company and the individuals, and a contract, a commercial arrangement has been made. People are accepting whatever we are saying. Please understand that even if you go by that thinking, a contract which is atrocious on one of the parties, especially the weak party, is liable to be declared null and void by the court. A party which has got a dominant position in a contract, even if the other party has agreed so-called voluntarily, the court, on being approached, can obviously look into that and declare that contract as null and void. So I think we have sufficient legal background to declare all these coercion and all these, via medias to collect data from this country. But yes, our process is slow, and they are all trying to take advantage that, okay, whenever this final and definitive judgment comes against them, till that time at least they can keep on harvesting the data and making money out of that.
Mr. Singh, do you agree? Are these companies, big tech companies, able to arm twist us because there are certain loopholes that we have not been able to tackle over these years? And because also, obviously, the procedure, as Mr. Agarwal points out, is so slow that it gives these companies the edge?
See, if you look at Europe, they have a clear law. The law of General Data Protection Regulation. It basically decides what data you will collect, for what purposes you will collect, how long you will store, whether it was necessary to collect it, what would you do with that data, the life cycle of the data, including the user's right to be forgotten. So if we do not have these provisions, how are we going to implement them? It's basically a question of you as a product. If you are a product, then you don't control your data. But the GDPR put the user back in control and in charge of his or her own data. Now today, a user in the GDPR regime can go to this company and say, please delete all my data. But if you'll be very surprised. I have actually been reading the WhatsApp privacy policy. Do you know that even if you delete your WhatsApp account, they will keep your data for next 30 days, and then they say that okay, but in the backup it may remain more than 30 days and for an unspecified duration. So I cannot even delete my data here. If I want to opt out, if I want to go for another secure service or service which values me as an individual or values my privacy, I am not even allowed to do that because my data is being stored on their servers, which they will say it requires time to cleanse it, so will require 30 days, and in the backup it may remain more than 30 days. So this is actually a great disregard for the user's right over his own data. It is discriminatory, and I think rightfully the government, and I think subsequently courts would also take cognizance of it, because the government has filed an affidavit in the court saying on what grounds this is violative of privacy and of any regard for individuals' rights over his data. So I believe that it is time that this arm twisting by big tech should be stopped. See, when these all companies started, they started under this carte blanche of Sections 230C of the Communications Decency Act of the USA, which gave them a carte blanche. So like the safe harbor, it told them that you are not subject to any civil or criminal proceedings. And since they did not have a monetization model earlier, they just kept on growing big. And once they've grown big, now they want to monetize. Once they want to monetize, they want your data. So Facebook could not earlier collect people's mobile phone numbers. But when it acquired WhatsApp, now it can get your phone numbers. So you know that I think in Europe, they have been fined in hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of pounds for not telling about the possible WhatsApp acquisition. So their record on privacy, on respect for individual rights has been very muddy. And I think that it is time that some legal sanity is put in place, be it courts, be it regulation, be it government. But also, as Mr. Anuj has said, that in absence of a strong law or a basis, it is not just enough to give a right. That right should be justiciable, and there should be a provision for that. So we are eagerly waiting for PDPR. I think once PDPR comes, it has very similar provisions to GDPR, where it says that the data fiduciaries can be punished, that people who are holding your data can be punished for any violations up to 4% of their turnover per violation. And there nobody messes with them. In GDPR countries, they are very compliant. They nicely tell you that this is your data. See, if you are using a VPN and you log in from a GDPR country or a EU country, you will get very different notices while browsing the website. And they would give you a great granular control on the kind of cookies you want to use or the kind of data you want to share. But here, in absence of a law, we do not have these provisions. So I think it's really high time that we have stringent regulations around data protection and individuals' rights.
And personal data protection bill certainly looks like the need of the hour, which will solve many of these problems as far as helping and ensuring that consumers' rights on their data is protected. Mr. Agarwal, so what Mr. Singh suggested, that the GDPR, which is one of the strictest in the world, the PDPR is going to be quite similar to it. So the crux of the matter is, does it ensure that consumers will have full control over their data, how the data is processed, and even their right to erase information, because WhatsApp holds that information for quite a long time, even after we delete it?
See, this is something a very, very important right. And there is a debate going on in the digital world that whose data it is at the end of the day. When I create an account on any of the digital platform and I give some of my information to that platform to operate my account, and later on I share more and more information, conversation with my friends, families, business stakeholders, who is actually owning that data, whether I own this or it is now owned by the platform. If I own it, platform actually cannot use it, should not use it. If I am moving on the road in my car, so somebody who is operating the road infrastructure cannot own my car, cannot keep my car's location. You just can't. You can't just do a jasusi on me when I am using your infrastructure. It is something what is happening today is that they are actually taking full control of me while I am using their infrastructure, although it is not at all intended supposed to be there. They have also been given certain safe harbor under intermediaries where they are claiming that we are only providing an infrastructure and we are actually not responsible what Mr. Agarwal or what Mr. Singh is doing on the platform. It is based on this premise that we are actually not knowing who is doing what. We are just providing a platform. But in effect, they are actually using all of our information. So they are getting involved into that. They are monitoring it. They are monetizing it, and they are selectively blocking people also on all these platforms, which means they are either side of the divide. They are saying we are intermediaries, we have actually no control, no interest in whatever people are doing. We actually do not know them. But as a matter of fact, they are utilizing all our information for monetizing. They are making money out of it. So strict law, whether modeled completely on the GDPR or having some local conditions, keeping in mind, obviously we are also a almost similar size of the country or a continent size country, where our population is much more than the Europe, much more diversified, and our needs are growing needs. So obviously we need a law which has to keep in mind the local interest, the interest of the Indian people, and has to be much more wide in nature. And that should also support some amount of local innovation. So a law which is applicable in Europe, which is already a developed country, which has already achieved certain milestones in terms of the technological development, while we are yet to reach there. So we need to have some flexibility, but that flexibility should be supporting the Indian ecosystem and the Indian people. It should not become a vehicle for data sovereignty being taken over by foreign players. So I think somewhere down the line, we need to have the law attuned to the Indian needs, Indian requirements.
Okay, Mr. Singh, one last question from you. So obviously the personal data protection bill looks like the need of the hour, but until that bill sees light of the day, what should be the measures which India should be adopting, the government should be taking to ensure that any such policy by such big tech giants do not undermine our privacy, our data security, and of course, the most important of it all, our user choice?
First of all, it's a welcome step by the government that it has stepped forward to protect users' choice, users' privacy and its rights over his or her own data. Till then, I think companies are definitely, though they value profits over privacy, but if your user base gets eroded, then you see that your business model is creating problems for you. So users should resist. If any such conditions which are either discriminatory or harmful to you, you should resist these policies. You should write against them, tweet against them, like the way you are organizing this talk. So this will go to a large number of people who would be made aware that, okay, this is happening. Otherwise, people are not even aware. So it starts with awareness, and people should resist against this arm twisting by tech giants. And in this, courts, government, and people all should stand together and resist this tyranny of big tech, where they are changing terms of service for their own monetary needs, for their own monetization, for their own business needs. They're totally disregarding rights, they're totally disregarding privacy, and they are totally disregarding choice. So this needs to stop, and I think we are in the right direction.
Absolutely. And the government has been insisting time and again that in fulfillment of sovereign responsibility to protect the rights and interests of all Indians, it is going to explore all possible options that are available to it. And the companies must understand that apart from protecting the interests and rights of the citizens, it is also important to adhere to the law of the land where they are working in, where they are established. So with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you once again to both my guests, Mr. Singh, Mr. Agarwal, for joining us on the program today and putting things into perspective for us and our viewers. Pleasure having you on the show. Take care of yourselves and your families. To my viewers also, I want to make an appeal. Stay at home if you can. The second wave of the pandemic is not over yet. We need to take care of ourselves and our families. So stay at home if possible. But if you have to step outside, make sure you are double masked up, ensure physical distancing, and also keep washing your hands at regular intervals. These are basic precautions that we need to take to keep ourselves away from infection and protect ourselves and our families from this deadly disease. So take care and see you again same time tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.